All right, well, welcome back everyone to Midlife Movie Crisis, where we review another movie in crisis. And I want to welcome my podcast partner Kate back to his house.
I thought we talked about this though. We don't have to be
What?
in crisis. It's just our
We're
it's
always in
just a name.
crisis. It's a
You can't
crisis.
project your stuff on me.
Well, I have to. How else am I going to project my pain and suffering to ease it? Like,
Oh good, I'm glad. So me and the audience are here for you to just
to absorb my pain and suffering, to brunt the burden together.
I don't like this. I don't like where this is going. Welcome back everyone to apparently the pain and suffering you're about to endure. What are we reviewing today here,
So
Destina?
today we are reviewing Sinners. Sinners just came out this last weekend, and we'll get into it.
All right. Well, that was your spoiler free. If you if if you haven't
So,
watched it, go watch it. It's good.
I mean, to spoiler free is, it's a movie set up in 1935 surrounding two twin brothers who just moved back to the area in Mississippi. Essentially just a stone's throw away from, slavery. Come back with some money and want to start a business and think they got everything up and going, and then some supernatural shit hits the fan. And I
That's
mean, when
actually
it
a
hits
really
the
nice
fan,
summary.
yeah, when it hits the fan, people, let me tell you, it hits the fan. So go out, watch it. As far as the short review, fantastic movie, enjoyable. Please don't take the kids. There's plenty of blood, guts, gore,
Whoa.
cursing.
Okay. We're not going to tell people how to raise their children. I mean,
Well, don't
take the
take a baby.
kids.
Don't take a baby,
Oh, all right. Yeah.
right?
Let's
Yeah.
sidebar. You could stay for this if you'd like. This is spoiler free. We're just going to let everyone know we're sitting here and there are points in this movie where there's a potential that children may be heard in the background.
Yeah.
And so, this being Dolby and all of those things, we're sitting in the theater trying to enjoy our experience, at which point we start hearing a child
A
over and
baby
over.
crying.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Fun
Yeah.
fact, it wasn't the Dolby, it wasn't the movie, it was someone bringing a fucking baby into the goddamn movie, dude.
Into a vampire movie in Dolby Atmos surround sound, like the loudest surround sound. And, between, the blood curdling screaming and guts and stuff, I'm sure that baby is going to grow up wanting to wear people's faces.
Oh, well, okay. I don't know about that. They probably will not have any recollection of that. I was just more selfishly looking at it like,
The
how dare
the
you bring a
brain,
child
yeah,
and ruin
around
my
our present
experience?
when we're trying to have a grown-up weekend. No, I mean, babies' brains are so malleable. I'm pretty sure it is going to crave like bloodlust. So, just saying,
The fact that
parents, if
of
you
the
have,
two of us, you have children, and this is something you're spewing as fact. Disclaimer somewhere around here, nothing he's saying is factual.
no, just observation based on years of experience. You're raising a serial killer, sir and ma'am. Please take your baby out of
Yeah, we don't know if
violent
that was a
vampire
sir or
movies.
a ma'am there, or to each his own on
I
that.
saw
But
him leaving. That's how I knew, because we came out,
you
and then all
identified
of a
them.
sudden, I see people coming out of the movie with a stroller, carrying it like, and this
Oh
baby
yeah.
had to be like a month old, like it was a tiny little baby, and I was just like, oh my goodness.
Oh, I saw them because I left and then received a
Oh
message that the movie was still going after the
yeah,
credits. It's 2.5 hours, everyone. So buckle up, buttercups. I hope your bladders are ready. Mine was not. I did know, full disclosure, that it was that long. However, still was not prepared enough, apparently. So I was waiting. And the second the credits hit, I beelined out of there. It was like, I just have to pee. And so by the time I'm done, number one, not number two. Okay, it was quick. I washed my hands, come out thinking
good.
they're going to be there and they're not. And I'm like, do you guys go outside? Just ditch me? Like, what the fuck? And no, I was informed that the movie was still going. So yeah, I was actually standing there, and that's the baby people.
Yeah,
It
the
was great.
baby people. But
Bastards.
for our watchers, listeners, whoever, do stay. There is, a post credit scene,
Yes.
and I think, like in my opinion, it was one of the best scenes of the movie. So stick around and make sure you stay till after the credits and watch that end credit scene. So
Yep.
spoiler free. That's done. Now let's get into it.
Okay,
Like,
yes. Yes. So go see it. Leave now, come back if you are leaving now cuz like, obviously, like, subscribe, comment, come back. But now moving into the spoiler-ish review because of course it's still in theaters right now. Not a whole lot we could do as far as clips for everyone. I will do my very best to run these in the background as I can. Incredible fucking movie. And I will
yeah,
say this, I said we would not I refuse to watch musicals. This is kind of a musical, but it's blues and all of this, so I can get with that. This isn't fucking Wicked. Okay, so
right.
it is
It,
musically, but it's good music.
a vampire musical, right?
Yeah, like I
And
could get
yeah,
with it.
surprisingly as well, like it was one of the parts I enjoy the most. Of course, I like musicals. Um, but like really good music. It was really fucking good
Yeah,
music. Like I could jam to
very good.
that shit just any day. Um,
And the cast,
oh,
star-studded cast, I will say Michael B. Jordan,
yep,
delicious.
sure.
Also, great at playing 2 characters.
Holy shit, right?
Thank you for, having minor changes between the 2 of those so I could
Yeah.
identify who was who or making sure they were in very different outfits because damn,
Yeah, and
they're
I mean he
identical.
yeah, identical twins. Michael B. Jordan plays identical twins, Stack and Smoke, who
Mhm.
we kind of find out had been in Chicago working with Capone, came down after robbing someone, and bought this juke joint. That they were going to host this party, and essentially it's like a 1 day thing. In fact, the movie opens up with the end of that night, with the who would be the main character, showing up bloodied and battered and
Yeah,
stuff. And so, and it's, previous day, a day earlier, some shit's gonna go down. But man, like Michael B. Jordan, I've seen him in a lot of stuff, even, Black Panther, Creed, like all these different movies. Without Remorse, I believe, was the other one. Um, I,
well, a lot of
I,
them Ryan Coogler actually was a part of, you know what I
right,
mean?
right. Yeah, Ryan Coogler, of course, directed the
Creed,
first and second Black Panther. Um, and man, I was like, I was a little afraid that Michael B. Jordan would play kind of Michael B. Jordan. I know he's a good actor, but I was like surprised how
convinced.
well, yeah, he played Stack and Smoke to where I forgot it was even Michael B. Jordan when I was watching it. Just
And they were
completely,
2 very different characters, like, they were
yeah,
brothers, they were very, in sync with each other and obviously, like, the ride or die situation, but I will say he did a really good job of identifying different characteristics and attributes and traits of them, where you could really tell the difference between the 2 of them and their storylines. I enjoyed that, and they are 2 very different characters. One of them is um which one was it? One of the brothers ended up having an ex-wife, or maybe they're still married, or who knows, but they had had a child that they had lost, and so he has this whole like very dark, sad aura about him, I guess you could say, throughout the film, as opposed to his
yeah,
brother is very, well, he's trying to get with, well, he's technically in love with a white woman who helped her family helped raise them and all of this stuff. So it's just really interesting to see how well he played both of those characters so differently, but
yeah,
very consistently. So
fantastic. And you know, not only is the acting like tip top, it really is. I mean, everyone, Haley Steinfeld, to all the supporting cast just did a fantastic job. But the world that Ryan Coogler created, I mean, he wrote and directed this, was just like so spot on from the way they spoke and acted and behaved, and just the way he was able to capture, you know, what it must have been like, as an African American in 1935 in Mississippi. Like you felt all of it. Just did a fantastic job, capturing that. And so, the story was phenomenal, the character building phenomenal, the dialogue phenomenal, like the music
yeah,
phenomenal. really just, um, just a fantastic movie. And, what I found interesting, and I will say my comparison, like to throw it out there for anyone who's kind of like, well, what to expect. This reminded me a lot of like From Dusk Till Dawn, which is like a classic vampire movie, but really just with like this twist, um, to where like a good chunk of the movie is really just character building and storyline
Yeah.
and getting to know everyone. It's not really till towards the very end that all of a sudden like shit goes
It's the
downhill.
latter
And
45 minutes, because the rest of it out of, like, what, the 2-hour and 23-minute runtime, I'd
yeah,
say the last 45 minutes to an hour maybe, so that hour and 20 minutes is all character building, and that's something that I really enjoyed was they gave you enough of the supporting characters and everyone to not only shape and, like, really make you feel that this was a real scenario, real world, but also you had some type of like draw towards the character, each of them. You knew that there was something about them, the backstory, because you had Cornbread, who was played by what's his name, Omar Benson Miller. And
yeah,
even when you're introduced to his character, it's all simple things, but it's just enough storytelling that you can have this like love for this character where he's picked up in the cotton fields, his wife's there, he's approached, they're trying to get him to come be, the doorman for the evening for the juke joint because they want to bring this in and turn some money, and they start of course realizing that like it's not a community with money, so they're having to accept not, you know real money and things like that from them. But anyway, you see his wife, you get to see all of this, all of their interactions and building and all of that. So it's not until like the last hour that, to Dustin's point, the shit hits the fan. People start dying. You start losing these characters. Essentially, no one is safe, but at least you have enough to care about them. So many times in these movies, there's all of these extra characters, and there is no character building or tying to the world and the other main
yeah,
characters. So you don't care. You're just like, whatever, dude. I guess, you know, um, guess they're just dead now. And
yeah.
same thing with Delroy Lindo, just like his
Oh,
character. Oh my God,
fantastic.
I
Delta
loved him.
Slim. Delta Slim is a character in the movie, and I think out of all the characters, he was my favorite by far, because he
Yeah.
brings like the ruggedness, but yet all the comedy relief, which it's a pretty serious movie, honestly. There's quite a few parts that made me chuckle. It wasn't funny by any means. It's very serious, but all of that came really from Delta Slim.
Yeah.
Um, and man, I mean, he's a
His
fantastic actor.
delivery.
Yeah, and just like a staple as far as like male African American actors, he's been doing it for 30, 40 years. And so seeing him in this, just like probably my favorite role that I've seen him in. And yeah, like you were saying, it just lends the credence to like you cared what happened to every single person.
Yep.
There was no throwaway characters because Ryan Coogler spent such a good job creating this universe, and then for all intents and purposes burnt it down in front of you.
Yes.
It was just like,
Literally.
oh, here's all these people you fell in love with, and let's rip all their throats out.
Yeah, like there is no happy ending here unless you consider the fact that in some way that one of the brothers is reunited in death with his family who's all
Yeah.
dead. I mean, if like is that a happy ending? I'm not sure. But the other thing was of course the music, and I think
Hmm.
it was really interesting the play of, well, first of all, the title of the movie Sinners, right? Obviously it's talking about, you know, sinners. And one of the main characters, Sammy, is the son of a preacher who is essentially trying to tell him not to go to the juke joint, not to play music, not to go hang out with his cousins because the two twins are his cousins. And he goes against that. And for some folks, that is a play on religion, right? Like they're telling him not to go. They are the sinners. And so he ends up coming back to the church in the end, which is the symbolism of all of that I thought was
Yeah.
really.
Back in, my favorite thing that Ryan Coogler did is, how he kind of opened the movie with too is explaining how music like would call these monsters or demons or spirits or whatever. And it was really playing on how powerful music is in a community to a group of people. He had this contrast in the movie. You'll see where they had the blues and then like the Irish folk music, and how that
Mhm.
kind of compared the two different cultures and the struggles they'd been through and how they used music, to get through those struggles. And just how this music is like this thing that like binds us all and draws us all together. It just so happened that his music was so good he just drew the wrong crowd. um,
Yes. I thought that was cool, and Remick is, for those of you staying on track with this, is Irish. He's an Irish vampire, so that was kinda cool. Obviously, he's old, right? I mean, they didn't really dive into that's what I like. There was enough character building, but not into the things that didn't matter or weren't relevant. There's only
yeah,
one group of characters I wish we knew more about, and it is at the beginning when we're introduced to this potential evil, right? This quote unquote vampire, Remick. He's being chased by quote unquote vampire hunters, and those are Native American. And they're introduced that they are apparently vampire hunters. And they leave after they're trying to warn this family or this couple that Remick ran to their house saying that he was being chased down and all of these things. He recognized that they were clan members because of the, things in the background. And so played on that, and they helped him and let him in. Well, the Native Americans tried to warn them and just said, hey, good luck. Don't let him in if you
yeah. If you
see
see
him.
him, don't let him in.
Yep, and left. And I really would have liked something with them. Even if it was just at the very end, they just showed up in daylight, knowing that one was in that area that they were chasing. I would think that that would go on. And I think that's really cool that they highlighted all of these people and all of these different cultures and tried to loop that in, but then just kind of left that.
Yeah, yeah, but I
What
do
happened?
I do agree though. Like, as soon as I saw, you know, the Native Americans show up, I was like, well, of course. Like, if anyone is,
Oh, yeah.
connected to the spirit realm and those kind of things, it would be the Native Americans, like showing up to try to take out these vampires. So again, just like the way he was able to be like, this is how it would be in 1935. There was no part of it that I disagreed with, where I was like, nah, I don't think that could happen. I was like, oh yeah, absolutely. And then even as they introduce Annie, who again we find out is married to one of the brothers, and her like voodoo past, they touched on it, and they're like, hey, she works with some mystic stuff, some voodoo power.
Mhm.
Um, and then I loved that they took the 5 minutes to explain that. And then when the vampires showed up, she was just like, "Oh yeah, I'm like a voodoo priestess. I know what's up." Like they didn't have to
Yep.
go in and be like, "Oh, what can we use to kill them?" Or none of that stuff that you have to go through these vampire movies to get to. She was like, "All right, check this. I'm a voodoo priestess. We need garlic. We need silver. We need wood stakes. They're vampires. Let's
Yeah.
go."
I think that pretty much checks the list. Don't invite people in.
Yeah, don't let them in. I know what's up. Let's go. Like all her training, over the years, worked out in their
Was
favor.
all
So
for this moment.
yeah, all led up to this moment. Um,
And there was that protection thing that she had given. Um, Gosh, I'm gonna just look on my notes really quick because it's gonna
so
bother me.
I'm
Which
pretty
one of the
sure
twins she was with? Was it Smoke or was it Stack? See, they put those
Stack.
names close.
It's Stack.
Okay,
I think
so
so.
she gave no, that's Smoke's wife.
Is it Smoke's wife?
I think it's Smoke's wife. Either way,
Okay.
the one that she was with, she gave him like a protection pennant thing, and he ended up at the very end taking it off when he goes to this final showdown. So what's really interesting is when they buy this juke joint, they actually purchase it from obviously a white landowner out there, and it's like a rundown mill or factory or something is what it was at one point. I think it's what they said,
It was a
something like
mill.
that.
Yeah.
And you can already tell that this landowner is a piece of crap, and they end up making the deal, and so they think everything is good when in reality they had done that deal to take their money to then plan on coming back as very terrible people. We will refrain from giving any type of names, but you all know. They show up to do this final showdown, and he kills them all, and I think it's really great.
Yeah.
And
And
also no extensive character armor. He also passes away. But I thought
yeah.
that was cool because right before that, he took that off. And it was like this whole night, everything that was happening, you kind of realize him having that protection from her almost like did actually protect him. And as soon as he took it off, it
Mhm.
was almost him accepting, like, I want to die. I know I'm going to, but I'm going to take them all out with me. And God, that was such an amazing scene to close out with and see.
Yeah. Yeah, just a full circle thing, and it was interesting again how this was so many different movies in like one movie, but it all went well. Like it wasn't any part you're like, oh, well,
Yeah.
why did they do that? It went from like, again, these two brothers coming home, into the deep South, dealing with the racism and all that of just trying to be free, be a free people, and so in the music and the dancing, and you get caught up in that, and then it's like holy shit, there's vampires, of course. White people
Yeah,
show
like,
up. Yeah, white
I
people
was
show up, like, let
interested,
us
so
in.
I
um
forgot.
we forgot we were in a vampire movie, and we're like, oh yeah, wait, here we come. I do like, for one reason or another, that when the white folks show up, problem of brews, you know and the fact that
Hey,
they were
and,
instantly
that
untrusting.
tracks.
Yeah, and instantly untrusting of it, for whatever reason. It made him feel like something was wrong. And so you go into this like whole vampire breakdown, and just a supernatural hell breaks loose, and then at the very end it was like a revenge film, for the
Yeah.
last 10 minutes, where he's like, all right, I'm just gonna kill all these racist white dudes.
Everything you wanted to happen happened
Happened.
all of a
But
sudden.
and again, it didn't feel like it was forced. It didn't feel like what am I watching? It didn't feel like
It wasn't a
different movies.
stretch.
No, it felt like the same movie, but it felt like, honestly, even though it was one day, it felt like you had lived so much in that movie.
It felt like a week's worth of things happened,
Yeah,
but just in one night, essentially. I mean, you did have the day where they went to the trains and they met everyone and were kind of gathering like some folks to come and either cook or play music or all of those things. But yeah, I would say then drum roll overall, I would give this, and this is going to be, I know this is only our second rating at this point, but I will say this is going to be a very high rating, probably one that we don't award, or myself, I don't award out to very many movies. And I'm going to say this is a strong, like, 9 out of 10. I was invested the entire time, almost a 2.5 hour film, and I watched it in a theater with a baby present and still wasn't miserable.
yeah.
I feel like that's really,
That's
that says something.
if yeah, if you can keep us engrossed and think that the baby's part of the movie, you're doing a great job,
There
right?
you go, that too.
Yeah, yeah. I, personally, like, I would give this, and I know this may be hotly debated, but a 10 out of 10. It was one of my favorite movies. Yeah, I one of my favorite
Remember,
movies, I
10 out
think,
of
of.
10 means perfect.
And I think it was a perfect movie.
Out of 10. So you say 10 out of 10, 9 out of
Yeah,
10.
I wish
Combined,
there was
that's a
more.
19 out of 20.
Yeah, and I wish there was more. Like, I could have lived in this world that Ryan Coogler built for another hour, and I would have been entertained and excited to see like what was going to happen next. And I'm a huge vampire movie fan. I mean, it started with
Oh, yeah.
me, from The Lost Boys, like back in the 80s, was like the first vampire movie I ever saw, and I've been obsessed. I will watch anything vampire, I don't care. I did watch the Twilight movies. That's like a 1 out of 10. But I watched them because the vampire movies are it for me. And man, it was just one of my favorite vampire movies I've ever seen. Just a fantastic vampire movie. I don't I I haven't seen many better, if any. So again, just I that's why I gave it such a high rating.
Very serious, like, a very serious vampire flick to your point too, right? Like, it's not
No,
campy by any
nope.
means. It's not nothing like that. So, to your point, yep, I'd say go out, watch it. If you do, come back to let us know, or if you've seen it already, let us know what you think. Comment down below, like, subscribe if you haven't already, but we'd love to hear from you what you thought of the film. If you think, are you on, Team Dustin, 10 out of 10? You Team Kate, 9 out of 10? Or are you on your own team and you think it was something completely different? But
Yeah.
would love to hear from you guys.
Yeah, I'm excited to get in some conversations in the comment section and kind of go back and forth on what people, how they interpret this film, um, and what they thought of it. So again, like, subscribe. Again, we're going to be doing this hopefully once a week for you, and stick around. We're going to be dropping some little short reviews here shortly, called Jurassic Snark. We'll watch some films that we can just pummel for you and just talk a bunch of shit about. So look out for that. That's
They're
gonna
all
be
terrible.
yeah, all terrible, but like good terrible. I mean, we'll let you know whether or not it's probably worth the watch, but I mean, it's gonna be a fun time. So look out for that. That'll be coming here shortly as well.
Hey, and until next time, I guess we'll see you guys in about a week from now.
Yep. Thank you, everyone.